Hello, I'm Bernie Hayes. Today we have a guest author. Her name is Joyce Belle Harvell, and we'll be talking about a brand new book on The Bernie Hayes Show. And welcome back. As promised, my guest is Joyce Belle Harvell. How are you, Miss Harvell?
I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me as a guest on your Bernie Hayes Show.
Oh, it's wonderful for you to come. You know, as I open the book, the first page about the Tyronza River, it says Twist, Arkansas, October 1941. A small country town near the Tyronza River, Twist, was named after a plantation with the same name. Twist only came on the map when a well-known blues singer, B.B. King, mentioned the town as the location of a club where he once played, in which a woman named Lucille caused a fight. King later named his famous guitar Lucille, and it was during the time of World War II, and the United States was in turmoil. And I mention this because B.B. King and I have the same birthday. B.B. and I were very, very good friends, Ronnie King, and I've heard the story about how he named his guitar after this woman, Lucille, after a club caught fire after a fight.
Right.
But the name Lucille. So tell us about the Tyronza River. Why you named the book By the Tyronza River?
The Tyronza River, as I mentioned in the book, the Tyronza River is a river located about 2 miles from Twist, Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And Twist, Arkansas is it used to be a small plantation, and it was owned by a sharecropper that leased our property to sharecroppers, and his name was Old Man Shepherd. Okay. It was also a time during the Depression and near the World War II.
Okay.
And I wanted to tell this story because it points out the unfair treatment of the Japanese being incarcerated near the Tyronza River. And W.L. Howard and other sharecroppers volunteered to work there, cutting trees, building the barracks, which held about between 5,000 and 8,000 Japanese.
Wow, so it was a concentration camp where they interned those Japanese during World War II?
Yes.
Yes, and who is W.L.?
W.L. is the hero of the story.
Uh-huh.
He's a black sharecropper. He's married, and he's a charming, hardworking person, man. He's a very hardworking man, and he runs he has a farm.
Mm-hmm. And why is this important to you, and why is it important to the people who buy this book?
Oh, it's important because, as I said, it shows that slavery caused a lot of black families to separate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in this plantation, I guess the plantation owner had a lot of African Americans or people who were enslaved working on his plantation?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So what was W.L.'s important role? Why was he so important to you?
He was important because he was a hardworking sharecropper. Mm-hmm. And the story is that his mother used to live in Tupelo, Mississippi. And his mother was raped by a Ku Klux Klansman. Mm-hmm. So him and his mother, Sadie, had to escape Mississippi, and they traveled by foot until they got to Tupelo, Mississippi. Okay. Until they left Tupelo, Mississippi. Mm-hmm. So they traveled together, and they headed down near the Tyronza River. But before they got there, they had to get work on fishing boats. And when they was on the fishing boats, he met a woman that he had 2 sons by. But he had to leave her after him and his mother had to escape.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think this is important that you wrote this story? I mean, what made you, inspired you to write the story that you thought people should know about?
Well, it's just a story I've heard from my grandparents and my mother and father. Mm-hmm. Their conversations about the South.
Mm-hmm. And you say they left Mississippi, came through Arkansas, and up to St. Louis and beyond.
Right.
So tell us about that journey.
Well, first of all, the most exciting part about the book is the Japanese internment camp.
Okay.
Old man Shepherd owned a country store where they sold tools, material, canning jars for the women to use, farm equipment. And as I said, old man Shepherd owned a lot of plantations. And W.L. rented a house from him. Mm-hmm. You know, he was a sharecropper.
Okay.
So when they moved from Mississippi to Arkansas,
you want to know how hard it was for African Americans and people who were enslaved to work for plantations. What was your experience? Were you there, or are these stories that your grandparents told you?
I was born in Twist, Arkansas, but I've been here since I was 2 years old in St. Louis.
Okay, but you heard these stories?
Yeah, from my parents and grandparents.
Mm-hmm. Was it true that the Japanese people who were interned in these concentration camps around Twist, Arkansas, that some of them were treated even better than the black people that were living in that area? They were
Tell
treated. Us about that.
When W.L. Howard and about 5 sharecroppers volunteered to help the U.S. Army build the internment camps, they suggested that they go with them to San Francisco to pick up all Japanese families and incarcerate them. Mm-hmm. Franklin D. Roosevelt passed a law with the Secretary of War giving him permission to arrest all Japanese Americans.
Yeah.
So W.L. Howard, the sharecropper, and about 5 other sharecroppers volunteered for pay to go and help with the U.S. Army to help arrest the Japanese.
Mm-hmm. Do they feel any hatred for the Japanese because of World War II, because of the bombing of Pearl Harbor? Do they feel like that they had to do this to help the U.S. Army?
Right. Mm-hmm. The Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor in December of 1941.
Right.
And in February of 1942, that's when Franklin D. Roosevelt passed the law to incarcerate the Japanese.
Mm-hmm. Well, how were the black folks who were descendants of slave people, how did they feel rounding up people and send them to concentration camps?
They didn't like it at all. They felt like that could happen to them. Mm-hmm. They felt like the internment camps that they helped build was better than the shacks they lived in.
Yeah. And, well, I've seen a lot of documentaries about the concentration camps. In fact, I used to teach about it at Webster University and University of Missouri, St. Louis. So how can we get the book By the Tyronza River?
I'm sorry, what?
How can we get the book? How can we buy the book?
You could purchase the book by Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble and Book Baby Publishing.
Okay. And how can we reach you? You have a phone number and a website?
Yes, 314-930-5247.
What about email address?
And my email is JoyceHarvellBarney@yahoo.com.
Okay. And we can get the book off Amazon
and Barnes & Noble.
And Barnes & Noble. That's wonderful. By the Tyronza River with Joyce.
And I'm also
Belle Harvell.
I'm also on Twitter.
Okay.
I didn't put that on there, but it's at Joyce Harvell.
At Joyce Harvell on Twitter. That's wonderful. We'll be right back after this with our guest, Joyce.
Okay, thank you.
These are very difficult times and so many people are giving up. I want you to experience hope in the midst of God's cathedral of creation. And that's why I have a free book that I want to send you. It's that hope can begin to flow in your life. And you'll be encouraged to go out in the middle of creation and hear the birds and the trees and all of creation speak hope to you. And I'll send this to you absolutely free of charge. All you have to do is just write me, Larry Rice, at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. Or you can call 314-421-302 and request your free copy of Experiencing Hope in God's Creation. We need hope right now. And hope is just right there, ready to fill you. You may be in a dark, dirty, lonely place at this moment. I have a whole chapter on that, how seeds are planted there and how they sprout. That and much more, right here. Just write me at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166, and receive your free copy.
Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Melt me, mold me, fill me, and use me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh, fall afresh, fall afresh on me.
Okay, welcome back. I'm Bernie Hayes. We're at the New Life Evangelistic Center, 2428 Woodson Road, Overland, Missouri. We're talking to Joyce Belle Harvell, who wrote this novel. It's called By the Tyronza River. It's an interesting book, very interesting book. Miss Harvell, you know, people who come and visit us here at the New Life Evangelistic Center, we say there's a book in everybody. And there was certainly a book in you. And you wrote this book, By the Tyronza River. But what do you hope people will get from this book who read the book? What do you hope they'll take away from it?
First of all, the unfairness of the incarceration of Japanese. And W.L. Howard and his other sharecroppers signed up. They didn't get, they weren't in the army, they just signed up to work with them. And they would chop trees, help build the latrines. Everything was so much better than where they lived.
Okay.
And then they had to board a train with the Army, and their job was to stand out and help the older people come out and, until the soldiers arrested them.
Okay.
And they stayed in San Francisco while the Army arrested them. And then on the way back to Arkansas, they had to go back and work again. So W. Howard spent a lot of time away from his family trying to make extra money.
Sure. Let me ask you this. What would you tell the people who are viewing us right now about a story that they want to write? Should they write a book themselves about their history, about their story, about a story that they have to tell?
Well, really, my story is based on memories that my parents and grandparents shared. And in the book, it may be some similarities to myself. You know, there are some similarities, but the book, W. Howard has 3 children, and they all have different vocations that they follow.
Okay. Well, I'm saying for a person who's viewing us right now, if they had a story similar to yours, would you encourage them to write a book and put it in a book so people could know about their history too?
Sure.
Tell me about it. What should they do? How do they go about it? And how was your book?
Well, first of all, this book, By the Tyronza River, is a self-published book.
Yeah, okay.
Book Baby is the publishing company. And my daughter, Regina Topaz Smith,
Which is Regina Campbell now.
Yeah, she's now Caldwell.
Caldwell.
Yeah, she's the editor.
Okay.
And without Regina, this book probably wouldn't even be out there. But it's all my imagination and memories. Most of it is imagination.
Okay. How did you keep the record? Did you write down things and you remembered them, or?
I did plenty of research on this book. I really did. Because, as I said, the Tyronza River really is a real river. And I was born in Twist, so I've heard stories about that.
Okay. So Tyronza River, you said it's a tributary of the Mississippi River in Twist, Arkansas. How was life in Arkansas when you grew up, and then when you arrived in St. Louis? Tell us about your story.
Actually, I was 2 years old.
2 years old?
Yeah, when we moved to St. Louis.
Okay.
So I really don't know too much about it.
Okay.
But I do remember my parents telling me that they picked cotton,
Yeah.
and they would leave me and my little brother, at home while they picked cotton from dawn in the morning to sunset.
Right. But tell me about your experience here in St. Louis. Where'd you live, in Mill Creek or in the Ville, or where'd you live in St. Louis?
When we moved to St. Louis, we stayed in Clark Square Village. And then later our family moved out on Vernon. And then we stayed in the Central West End.
Okay. And how did you get your skill for writing the book? I mean, what made you decide to write this book when?
I wrote the book about 2 years before the pandemic. And I'm an artist, and I got bored with painting. And I was retired, and I just said, I'm going to write a book.
Okay. Were you retired from, were you a school teacher? What's your profession?
I'm an artist.
Artist?
Yes, I'm a photo artist, and I also do Egyptian and African art, landscapes, animals.
I wish you'd brought some of that so we could have seen that also.
Yeah.
But I understand that your daughter did the editing for the book. What was her experience? Did you two collaborate at your house, at her house, any place you could meet, or what?
No, when I told her that I was writing a book, I asked her to edit it for me. And she was more than helpful to do that.
Okay. So did she like editing or what?
Yeah, she loves editing.
Okay. This is
She's
wonderful.
very good.
Okay. So tell us about your family. Are you married, children, other children, or what?
I'm divorced.
Okay. But you grew up in St. Louis, and
Yes.
what high schools did you go to in grammar school?
I graduated from Hadley Technical High School. I attended St. Louis Community College, and I attended Clayton Business School.
Okay. So when did you figure out that you could write this book?
I just wrote it. It surprised me. It really did.
And did it take you a long time to write it? Did it take you a long
It just took about a year.
About a year? This is wonderful. So are you satisfied with it? Are you glad?
I'm very satisfied.
Okay. Tell us what makes you so happy that you wrote it.
First of all, after I wrote it, me and Regina, we had a book signing at Barnes & Noble, and it was very successful.
Okay.
And we sold quite a few books. But after the pandemic, things slowed down.
Well, people who bought the book, what were they looking for? Were they just buying the book to support you? Or they want to hear about the Tyronza River, or what?
The people that bought the book really, really enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, they all suggest that I do another book similar to that, or a continuation.
Okay. So once again, how can we reach you, and how can we get the book and communicate with you? What's your phone number and everything?
My phone number is 314-930-5247. My email address is JoyceHarvellBarney@yahoo.com.
Okay.
My Twitter account is @JoyceHarvell. And the book can also be published through Book Baby Publishers.
Okay. But why did you decide to self-publish the book?
I had to. It was inexpensive.
So, and what publisher did you use?
Book Baby Publishing.
Okay, so anyone who want to write a book can do their own publishing. They can self-publish themselves if they have a book. Okay. Is it easy? Was it easy? Was it hard?
It was easy for me. It really was, because everything that I wrote about, I heard about, or I researched it.
Okay. And I want to take a short break here. I'd like to remind people that we're at the New Life Evangelistic Center, 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. Reverend Larry Rice has been helping those in need for more than 50 years. And we're trying to reopen 1411 Locust Street in downtown St. Louis because Reverend Rice wants to open that as a day center for people who want to come in and wash their clothes, take showers, shave, and so forth, and take hygienic products home with them. So we just say that it's not a homeless shelter anymore, but it is a shelter for those in need. We're at 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri, and we'll be back with Joyce Belle Harvell after this.
Behind me is the New Life Evangelistic Center administrative offices in Overland, Missouri. And this is where we shoot our shows for our worship shows and the Here's Help Network. And it's also where Zakid Baruti and Bernie Hayes shoot their shows. You can find all of these shows at the New Life Evangelistic Center app, the NLEC TV app. You can also access them on your tablet or on your computer. And this is how you can stay up to date with all the things that New Life Evangelistic Center is doing. There are so many different programs that we've got going on, and God is doing many exciting things through partners like you. So if you want to support the work that New Life is doing, then please access and give through the app. You can go online at nlecstl.org or give us a call at 314-421-3020. Again, 314-421-3020. But this is the best way to get plugged into the amazing work that New Life is doing through people like you. And so there is something for you to get involved in today. And we are so thankful for our partners. Only through the grace of God and your gift are we able to bless others today.
Today's subject, James Baldwin, born 1924 in Harlem, New York, one of 5 children. You know, Baldwin was a storefront preacher for 3 years, starting at age 14. His writing started a way to escape his stepfather, and he attended Frederick Douglass High School and DeWitt Clinton High School. He graduated from high school in 1942 and moved to New Jersey to begin working as a railroad hand. In 1944, he moved to Greenwich Village, where he met Richard Wright and began his first novel, My Father's House. In 1953, he finished his important novel, Go Tell It on the Mountain, which stands as a partially autobiographical account of his youth. And the following year, he wrote the play, The Amen Corner, which won the Guggenheim Fellowship. During the 1960s, Baldwin returned to the United States and became politically active in civil rights, that is. And he wrote novels, poetry, essays, and screenplays in the later years of his life. He died of stomach cancer in France. James Baldwin, great man, great poet, great writer.
As we celebrate 50 years of God's faithfulness, how I thank God for all the years that we've been able to work side by side with Bernie Hayes. What a blessing this man has been, and what a blessing all of you all have been as you've continued to partner with New Life Evangelistic Center so we can feed the hungry, shelter the homeless, reach out and be a family to those that have no family at all. Now, as we're celebrating 50 years of God's faithfulness, I'm asking you to pray that we can get back into 1411 Locust at this particular moment. It was such a hideous crime when rich folks move in the neighborhood, shut that building down and put the homeless on the street. So many are suffering out there. Now, if you'd like myself or my grandson, Chris Aaron, to come and share with your church or business or group, please call us at 314-421-3002. Yes, we're celebrating 50 years of God's faithfulness, thanking God for Bernie Hayes and all of his supporters and all of you that have been praying. The door's open now. We want to move into 1411 Locust. We've got to complete the work. Through your prayers, through your involvement, we can make a difference. It's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri.
Welcome back. We're talking about By the Tyronza River. It's a novel by Joyce Belle Harvell, and it was edited by Regina Caldwell, her daughter. Ms. Harvell, you once told me before we sat down that you were concerned about Reverend Larry Rice, and you supported him, and even once you went to one of the rallies and spoke. Tell us about that.
Larry Rice was having a rally down near the city hall.
Yeah.
And it was a group of people. I was coming from lunch. I was employed at CPI Corporation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was coming from lunch, and I just stopped and a gentleman had a microphone, and I just said a few words in support of Larry Rice and his work.
Okay. So tell us about your faith. Do you go to church and are you a pastor?
I'm Baptist. I'm Baptist, and I attended Central Baptist for several years under Reverend Packett and under Robert Scott.
Okay.
And after Robert Scott left the church, then I joined Friendly Temple.
Okay. So you remember Friendly Temple now?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about your faith itself. Tell us how your faith keeps you going and so forth.
Faith keeps me going because I believe in God, and I believe in His mercy, and I believe that He will answer your prayers when you ask.
Do you think that God had an inspiration for you to write By the Tyronza River?
I do.
Tell us about it.
I feel like, as I said, my parents were sharecroppers, and their property was basically taken from them. And my father told me that when my mother was expecting her third child, the sharecropper came up on horseback and asked her to get out in the cotton fields. And my father refused, and he came to St. Louis with his family.
Okay. So your faith actually traveled with you every place you left, from Twist, Arkansas, right through St. Louis, Missouri, right?
Yes. They got on Highway 66 and came to St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay. Tell us about your feeling for the homeless, those people who are homeless in the city of St. Louis, since you were supporting Reverend Larry Rice.
Well, I used to donate clothing to Larry Rice. And one time I was planning a vacation to go to California, and I was kind of undecided and concerned about earthquakes and the distance. And I actually spoke to Larry Rice about that. And he suggested I go to Virginia Beach if I wanted to be near a beach, and that would relax me and I would have a nice time.
Oh, that's great. I'm so happy that you came. By the Tyronza River. Where's the Tyronza River located actually in Arkansas? In Twist, Arkansas. Where's Twist, Arkansas? Is it near Little Rock? Is it near
No,
Pine
Twist,
Bluff?
Arkansas is near West Memphis. It's about 2 miles from West Memphis. It's about a half-hour drive from Errol, Arkansas.
Okay. Yeah, so it's right there at the river, right there, the big bridge crossing 55 and 78 and all them other 61. Okay, so Twist, Arkansas. So if you're going, leaving St. Louis, going down 55 to Memphis, you probably pass through Twist, Arkansas, and West Memphis, Arkansas.
Right.
Okay, so I know a better idea of where it's come from.
They actually have a museum called the Tyronza River Museum.
What's in it?
They have. I sent them one of my books for their museum.
Oh, great.
And it's on display there.
What's in the museum of the new book?
The museum is called the Tyronza River Museum. It's in Tyronza, Arkansas.
Okay. So maybe we can go there my next trip down that way. Maybe I'll stop in the Tyronza River Museum near Twist, Arkansas.
Right.
I just want to say thank you so much, Joyce Belle Harvell, for visiting with us today and bringing us your book. And I sincerely hope that you're successful in selling the book. Once again, how can we reach you?
Again, at 314-930-5247. And my email is joyceharvellbarney@yahoo.com.
And your Twitter account?
At Joyce Harvell.
Thank you so very, very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
You and Ms. Caldwell. Have a great day, and thanks for supporting the New Life Evangelist Center. And each and every one of you, please, thank you for continuing to support New Life, and stay safe. If you're not injected, get your shots. I'm Bernie Hayes. Have a great day. Until next time.